So in this video, we're going to talk about how a secure person with a secure attachment style would respond to someone who is showing up as avoidant. Because it's true that even if you're secure, you can fall in love with someone who appears to be avoidant, but your response to it would be very, very different than if you're insecure or fearful or anxious. Now, I know that the most common dynamic that appears in this scenario, especially in romantic relationships, is that an avoidant person will attract an anxious person. And the reason why this happens is to give both an opportunity to be mirrored back to them the parts of themselves that they are not seeing, not loving, or parts of themselves that they have suppressed, and coping mechanisms that are unhelpful in their lives, so that they can transform them. But for this to happen, both people need to be willing to do that work, which is not easy, which is what I'm here for and so many other coaches on the internet. It's a process that needs guidance and support. And if you are looking for that kind of support, then contact me, because I would love to help you. Okay, so how would you respond to an avoidance behaviour? And this might be, when they shut down, when they stonewall you, which is not very nice, is it? If you've been on the other side of that, it's awful when you're someone who is wanting connection, wanting closeness, emotional intimacy, and you're showing up as anxious because of your own trauma, your own past. Then the thing that you want the most is to be seen, to be understood, to be held in your experience. Now, the thing is that sometimes when you're in this situation, it can be really blurry, because when you're anxious, you might feel that you need it more than you actually do or would if you were secure. And then that can put pressure on the avoidant and then push them away. So it is a vicious cycle, as I've spoken about before. But at the same time, it is completely normal and acceptable to want to be in a relationship where someone can hold space for your experience. Your responsibility is in knowing that it's you that's got to work through this. It's you that's got to do the work on yourself. But when someone is basically shutting down, invalidating you, ignoring you, it makes it really, really hard to get the mirror back that you need, that says what you're feeling makes sense and there's nothing wrong with you, because there is nothing wrong with you. Okay, so if you needed to hear that, there is nothing wrong with you. You're just evolving out of your trauma patterns and your conditioning. And to do that, we need safety in relationships, which is why seeking out safe people, safe groups, people who get it is so important. And it doesn't mean that you can't heal in a relationship with an avoidant, but the thing is that the avoidant needs to have some level of awareness and willingness to do the work, and very often they don't, because it's too vulnerable for them and it makes it very uncomfortable for you. Okay, so back to the original question: how would you respond to this if you were secure? First of all, you would know that everyone has triggers, no one is perfect, and that you're not either, and you would know what you need and what you expect in a relationship, okay? And often we start to know what we need and what we expect in a relationship from experiencing the contrast. So just so you know, if you have experienced a difficult relationship, you're starting to get the information to help you in the future for you to know what you need in a relationship, which is such good information and such good experience. So there's something good in that. So you'd know what you need, and you would know when someone is showing up as avoidant, that is not going to help you. So you would address it in a calm way, not in a blamey, attacky, accusatory way, but you would calmly say, hey, what were you feeling when you spoke to me like that, when you shut down? Are you okay? Because I'd really like to talk about that. The thing is that I really do want to have a relationship where I can have these types of conversations. And if you're not there, then I understand. But you would also then be willing to take a step back, to invest less in the connection, knowing that this person has shown you and told you where they are at emotionally, because you know your needs and you've been through this before. Or maybe you haven't been through this before, but you've grown up as a secure person and you know that that's a block to you to have emotional intimacy, and you want emotional intimacy. So you'd be able to say, that's not attractive to me. That's not what I want. And that would be maybe disappointing, but you'd be able to accept it knowing that you do know what you want and that it's not that, right? So you'd basically be able to address it in a calm way, and then you'd be able to make a decision based on their response. Now, if they were able to say and reflect, self-reflect, which is sometimes very difficult for avoidants to do, because they feel like they're carrying a lot of shame, and it's very black and white. It can be really, really like, I'm good or I'm bad. And often when they're self-reflecting, they go into this shame cycle, which feels very overwhelming, that makes it feel very, very difficult for them to be able to sit with where they could grow or learn something. And being on the receiving end of that does not feel safe. And what does feel safe is when you're with someone who can go, oh gosh, yeah, I can see why that would have made you feel like that, and I'm sorry. And I'm going to work on it. That feels so safe, because it's like, oh, I don't have to do this for them. I don't have to teach them anything. I don't have to mother them or father them or whatever. It doesn't turn into a parent-child dynamic. It turns into a equals relationship. And you'll know when that's there, because you will feel that safety within you. But in order for you to get that safety, you need to model your boundaries and your expectations, and you need to live by them. Okay? Because when we say them and then we kind of go back on them, or we, give people too many chances, they then see us as someone who is coming to them with a problem, which then becomes this horrible cycle of feeling like you're the problem when you're not. And this can really erode your self-esteem more and more and more, which is what, some people get into this pattern of, and they feel like, what have I done wrong? I could have done this. I could have made them feel more like this, or I should have said it like that. And often you couldn't have. It's just you're responding in a normal way to something that feels uncomfortable and unsafe. But because you haven't had maybe the modeling or the figures or the sort of role model of a relationship to look to, and the feeling experience of knowing what's safe and what's not for you in relationship, because you don't have that, you're kind of going into it blind, guessing how to navigate this very difficult dynamic. So if you're experiencing this, I don't want you to blame yourself for how you've shown up. It is not your fault. You are learning, you are growing. This person is helping you to know more about yourself and to really take these lessons and to transform your life with them. But what transforms you and your relationships and manifests a whole new outcome is where you take these lessons and you embody the new learnings, so that you can actually show up for the part of you that does need that safety, connection, communication, and then you can set boundaries and standards for yourself and live by them. And the thing is that once you validate this within yourself, once you're the one to validate it, because quite often what happens is that when we're anxious, we need the other person to give us permission to have this need, right? And that is like an endless chase, and it's always out there. The only one that can validate your need for what you need is you. And this can be really hard when we haven't been modeled that, which is why, again, you need to have safe people, coaches, groups of people who really get it, to be able to mirror to you what you're feeling is right and makes perfect sense. Of course you feel like this. Of course you feel like that. Of course you need this or that, So you need that, but you need to then take those safe relationships that you create in your life with friends, with family, with people that you trust, to be able to validate yourself and your needs. And that is very, very powerful and creates massive change that helps you to become more secure in these romantic relationships. I know that it is very hard to do this when either you haven't done it before, because it feels like you go against everything that your body and your habitual automatic patterns are telling you to do. To set boundaries feels so uncomfortable when you've been a people pleaser all your life, or you've been over explaining as a coping mechanism, or you've been trying to get people to understand you, and that's so triggering when you feel misunderstood. And an avoidant will make you feel very misunderstood and will make you feel like you've got to chase being understood. So what I want you to do, if you're doing that right now, is stop. Don't try to explain yourself anymore. You're understood. I understand you very, very well, because I have lived this and I know how hard it is to break this pattern. And I know how scary it is to risk losing this person. And you might, but I tell you what, if you don't set boundaries and you don't listen to yourself, you're going to lose yourself, which is essentially 10 times more painful than losing someone else. So listen to yourself, empower yourself. Your needs, your feelings are valid. You can change your anxious attachment style. You can learn to become more secure, and you can show up in your relationships as someone who is secure, and that can inspire change in other people. And the thing is that when you do that, when you're true to yourself, I remember once someone said this to me years and years ago, when you're true to yourself, the people who are meant to be in your life will either level up and meet you there, or they will fall away. Either way, you have an aligned life, so you will win. Okay? So wherever you are, that's where you're meant to be in this journey. I know it's messy. It's very messy. But if you would like any help understanding it, overcoming the feelings of whatever it is that you're feeling through a breakup, through an avoidant anxious dynamic, maybe you're avoidant and you want some help with that, maybe you're anxious and you want some help with that, either way, wherever you are, celebrate yourself for the self-reflection that you're doing. I really get it. I know it's difficult, but you've got this. So thanks for watching, everybody, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.